Andrew, welcome to the show today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Chase. I'm really happy to be here. It's always a pleasure to be with the CreativeLive audience. I love it.
Oh, man, thank you so much. And well, I'm here in Seattle. Tell us a little bit about where you are and what we're seeing there in the background.
Well, I am in my home in New Jersey, so I have a getaway out of New York City, get out of the smaller apartment, and get out of the hot zone. So we kind of came down here about 10 days ago. So my wife and my niece and her boyfriend are sort of hunkering down here. And I started a feature when my wife had to be working from home called the Work From Home Cafe. And I've been doing videos, and a lot like what you were saying in your open about giving back to the community and being there for our audience and helping out at this time of need. I thought a lot of people know my work as a photographer, but the reality is that I've been a cook before I was a photographer, and I learned my cooking skills from my grandmother, my great-grandmother, my mom, and I bring that to the table every time I take a picture of food. So I sort of wrote a blog about food years ago called Making Sunday Sauce, and I had a nice audience there. I used to share recipes, and people knew me more in that kind of aspect. But that sort of went away with the busyness of being in food photography, and this gives me an opportunity to sort of resurrect that. And I'm calling it something new with the Work From Home Cafe, and I've been posting recipes and alternatives for people who don't cook all the time. You know, we have a lot of friends and colleagues who are back home right now who spend a lot of time in restaurants and eating takeout and all of those things, and that's not as easy to do right now. So I've been sharing easy recipes, fun recipes. I've been showing people how step by step, like what I do, and I figured this would be a great opportunity to step into the void here with CreativeLive and show you guys what I've been up to.
We cannot wait, and I'm going to turn it over to you here in just a second. But before we do, again, I want to reinforce the hashtag Work From Home Cafe. It's just been a delight to follow you since we originated this idea for CreativeLive TV, and I was directed specifically to check out that hashtag, and what you're doing there is so cool. And I know we've got some recipes we're going to share, and I just want to first say thank you. Second, say congratulations on basically reinventing a really cool and important part of the next body of work from you. And if we segue here into what we're going to be doing over the next hour, I understand that you're going to cook for us, and then we're going to photograph this, and I might be able to pick your brain at the end. We'll circle back to make sure people know how to find you. Make sure that we can reinforce that hashtag from Work From Home Cafe. But is it true we're going back to your grandma's arancini, or what are we gonna cook today?
Yeah, we're gonna make my grandma's rice balls, arancini in Italian, which means little orange. But they're basically called little orange because that's exactly what they look like when they're done. They look like little oranges. But they are rice balls, and this is my grandmother's recipe that I grew up eating. It's super simple. It's not very complicated. I'll talk you through it. I'm going to show you the last process of it, because part of it has to be done ahead of time because it needs to cool down. So I did that this morning. It's been cooling on the counter, the rice mixture. I'm going to show you how to form them, roll them up, get them in the fry pan, and then we'll go over and shoot them over near the window. So I'm going to take you with me for a second because I realized that when we run video full time here, the phone has the opportunity to run down the battery. So yeah. I'm going to plug you in. I'm going to plug you in so that when I'm working with you here, I don't end up losing my battery.
Yeah. While you're doing that, I'm happy to talk to the folks. I know if you're interested in food photography, I mean, you can't sit down at a restaurant without seeing someone next to you in a pre-COVID world, of course, taking a picture of their food. And, you've taught some incredible classes for us in the past, and we've got some new ones launching. Mobile food photography, for example, you're here in Seattle. I think it was about 8 weeks ago or so.
No, it was only 3.5 weeks ago. God. It was right as COVID was kind of coming in, and I was in Seattle at we were at a film festival. We were at the Seattle Children's Film Festival at the Northwest Film Forum. With Team Marco, my film that is out in festivals now. And we were there doing that. And then I was doing CreativeLive, and I was teaching a workshop up near Kirkland. And the day that I was in Kirkland was when the whole thing happened up there. And I was afraid I wasn't going to be able to get home. And, and then the streets in Seattle were already a ghost town. So I went from that hot zone back to New York, and it's sort of like it's chasing me. I keep running away. It's coming down to Jersey now. So I'm trying to stay out of its way.
Well, for the folks at home, like this broadcast is going to be super informative and inspirational and entertaining, but also, again, stay tuned for mobile food photography, a new class from you on CreativeLive, as well as social media for food photographers. And if your the social media aspect doesn't have to be food, because you drop a lot of great points there, but just look for that stuff upcoming. And of course, you can go on CreativeLive's site and check those out. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it back to you. You're going to go. I think we're going to go to like live to your chest, right? You're going to attach us to you so we can see. Yeah, that's gonna be awesome.
This is where you're going to be. I'm going to put you right there, and I'm going to work right from here. So I'm going to flip the camera. You're going to be able to see what's going on as I put this in this thing.
Oh, I love this. This is amazing.
Okay, so let's lock it down. Oh, hold on. What happened? Oh, I'm back. Something happened. Okay.
Oh, we just lost your picture, Andrew.
Yeah, John tried to call me back.
Sorry, John. I'll get you later. Oh, I think we might have just dropped. Well, it's my job. If we have technical difficulties, it's my job to occupy the space here and pretend like I'm Andrew Scrivani, even if it's just for 90 seconds. Again, for those of you just joining, my name is Chase Jarvis. I'm the founder and CEO of CreativeLive, and we are jumping into a segment now live from the kitchen of the renowned food photographer from the New York Times, Andrew Scrivani, where he's going to be cooking his grandma's arancini, which are rice balls. He's going to be walking us through a live demonstration. Oh, there we are. We're seeing Andrew back in the feed now, and I'm gonna hand it back to you and let you kick off from your chesty cam there, where we get to see what you're seeing in your kitchen there in New Jersey.
There it is. So here's my kitchen. I'm working with, this is the rice mixture that I made. So this was, it's very simple. It's milk, water, arborio rice, which is the rice you use for risotto, and a little pinch of salt. So if I bring you over to the computer, I can show you the actual recipe card that I'm going to share with the audience later. But this is the recipe card that was in my grandmother's kitchen that somebody rescued from me, and I photographed it. So I have the actual recipe card that was typed out on a typewriter, and then there's some handwritten remarks here that basically shows you how to double the recipe if you want to make twice as much, because exactly that's what you really want to do. I did the original recipe, which is the single recipe. So I made the rice mixture here by adding 2 cups of water, 2 cups of milk, a pinch of salt, and the risotto while everything is cold. You cook it up to a boil, and you let it simmer for about 30 minutes until basically all of the moisture is out. So it looks like kind of dry at the bottom of the pan. And when that happens, you put it on. You then take 2 eggs. You put what is it? We got it here. 2 eggs, and then 4 tablespoons of cheese and 2 tablespoons of butter, and you mix them all together until you get this sort of yellowy rice mixture, which is sort of really. I did wash my hands, people. Wash them good. So I'm going to take you over to the kitchen, I'm going to take you over to the stove. I'm going to heat this up. I'm going to get the flame going so that starts getting hot. We're going to go over to the fridge, grab an egg for the egg wash. You can see my surfboard in the background. Check it out. Okay. So get a little bit of an egg wash in here. That's not good. This is what happens when you cook on television. No, but this never happens on the Food Network. So just mix up the egg wash. I may even put a tiny bit of water in this, little filtered water, just to stretch it a little bit because it might need it. Might need to make more at some point, but we'll show you basically what we're doing. So now I got my 3 elements. And I'm going to put them in the order I'm going to use them. I got my rice mixture, my egg wash, my breadcrumb mixture, and then the pan, which I'm going to put about 1/4 of an inch of oil in and just let that get really hot. It should get up to about 350 degrees. So we might be able to check that. Let me see if I got my thermometer. So I got a thermometer, which will double for a human thermometer if you actually need it. It's a little sharp on the end, but it'll work. I have a buddy who's been struggling at home with the virus, who has been taking his temperature with a meat thermometer for the past week. So it's been pretty interesting. So you make them like meatballs, but my grandmother, I mean, a lot of people make them round like this. My grandmother tended to make them a little more oval, like a croquette. This was the way she liked to make them. So I'm going to make them like the way Mama made them. So my great-grandmother, who I've dedicated a lot of my food work to, her name was Ursilia Milo. She's from Cefalù, Sicily. This is a town in Sicily. I visited there once. It's this tiny little medieval-looking town. It's beautiful. And she came to the U.S. when she was a young woman. And she was the person in my life who kind of introduced me to food culture and a real love of cooking and being in the kitchen. I write about it in my book. That photo makes me hungry. I dedicated the book to all the women in my life who taught me how to cook. My mother, my grandmother, my great-grandmother. And so when you're coating these, you just kind of let some of the extra run off. Whoop, sorry, shaking you guys around a little bit. So, all right. I'm going to make a few of these while that's heating up. Then we'll test the oil. It doesn't matter if the breadcrumbs get in the mixture with you because it's all going to get coated anyway, so it doesn't matter. But you can see how this holds together really perfectly now. And make them like this. So that oil will take a few minutes to get hot, so it gives us a nice amount of time to kind of get these ready to go. I'm making these with gluten-free breadcrumbs because I don't eat wheat. And I've found that there are certain products that work pretty well for gluten-free people. And these breadcrumbs are one of them. You can get them at Whole Foods. I'll look at the package in a minute. I'll show you guys what it is. So, but it's like you say, I think you can make them as big or small as you like. I mean, some people make these now with a chunk of mozzarella cheese in the middle. Some people put peas in them or chopped meat. So it's a real staple for Italian cooking. And it's definitely something that you could improvise and use different types of cheeses. I use pecorino. I like sheep cheese in my arancini. I kind of like it better than Parmesan, but some people love Parmesan. So I will tell you can go with whatever you like. I try to write recipes, and I have been for the Work From Home Cafe. I've been trying to write recipes that are really flexible. Because I know that, particularly now, it's hard to get ingredients, number one. If you're trying to order online, that's become a little bit of a hassle. And if you're going to the grocery store, there are certain things that are really not available. I know that I've been struggling to find yeast, which is interesting, oatmeal, like rolled oats, so you can make cookies. So I guess a lot of people are making oatmeal raisin cookies with their kids, and you cannot find it. So I just had a timer go off, and we're going to take a second to take a look at something pretty cool while this heats up. I'm going to show you that. I have had a brisket in the oven for about 7 or 8 hours. I bought a small brisket and I wanted to work on it. So we're going to go over to the sink, wash your hands a little bit. This will be a good public service announcement. Wash your hands as often as you can. Get some oven mittens on. Check out what's going on in the oven. So this has been a brisket that I marinated last night. So this is bonus coverage here. I marinated this. Sorry about the sound. I marinated this last night, and then I put it in the oven this morning. It's a very simple marinade. It's a small brisket, and there it is. So that's been in my oven since about 10 o'clock this morning. I'm going to leave it in a little longer so that it builds a little bit more of a crust on it. It's been at a low temperature, about 300 degrees. So that's going to go back in, and we'll check on that again later. But back to the arancini. So let me talk about the brisket just for a second while I'm doing this. The brisket is mustard, garlic powder, salt, pepper, and mustard, and you just smear that all over the meat and then cover it up and put it in the refrigerator overnight. So like 12 hours like that. And then you just put it in the oven the next morning, let it come to room temperature, put it in the oven the next morning, and let it cook all day. It warmed up the house really nice because it was a chilly day down here today. And we were able to kind of make some really nice brisket. So I'm going to get some more breadcrumbs. And I'm going to make about half of this. And then, because I think that oil is just about ready, I'll make the rest later. So it's interesting to make these recipes for me because culturally, a lot of these kind of recipes, we see them online and we see them in other places. And everybody's family has a little bit of a different sort of take on it. And mine is simplicity. And I think that kind of speaks really well to how I like to cook in general, but also at the moment, I think it's really good that we are trying to do things a little more simply. So let's check this out and see where we're at. Oh yeah, we're about there. Absolutely. Actually a little hot. So I'm going to turn that down just a bit now that we're at temp. Okay. Uh-oh, I went sideways. There we are. Okay. So I'm going to get a tongs and I'm going to get some stuff to kind of roll these things around in the hot oil. I'm going to put them in. And then not try to crowd the pan too much. I think 5 is probably good. And then I'm going to roll them around as they cook because they're already fully cooked inside. So it's not like we have to cook them. We just have to crisp them up. So you'll see as I start to turn them, they crisp up pretty quick. This oil is really hot. It'll only take a minute or two. Once they're crispy on the outside, they're going to be warmed through in the middle, and it'll look great. See, that's almost ready. I'm going to give that another minute, like there on that bare side. So I'm getting now the temperature's down a little bit after I had that scalding in the beginning. So it'll cook a little slower now, which is good. So it'll get warm in the middle. You could also reheat these really nicely. Can't hurt them. Indestructible. So this is the most interesting camera work I've ever done because I'm looking I'm cooking through the phone. I'm actually looking at the phone and trying to keep the frame in place. All right, so I'm going to take these off and drain them to a paper towel lined plate. I think these look really nice color-wise. They could a little dark on one side, but they kind of made a comeback on the other side. So I'll make a few more now. But culturally, getting in touch with the food of our culture, whatever that culture might be, has been sort of a thing that now that we're stuck in home and we have to be with, a lot of times we're with our extended families, is an opportunity to sort of look into these recipes a little bit deeper and spend some time cooking with family. I know that my mom and dad are working on a video for me right now of them making pizza dough. So they're going to make some pizza dough, and then I'm going to publish that on my work from home cafe. And then I know my daughter's working on some stuff. She's in Tennessee, and she's working on some cooking, and she's going to shoot some videos too. And I know my niece and her boyfriend who are staying here with us, they cooked, and I published a recipe by them this morning. They did a Thai chicken curry, Thai shrimp curry, which was really delicious. And, we had an opportunity now to do these things. When was the last time you got to cook with your kids? Or when was the last time you got to cook with your grandma? This is a great time. We got to make lemonade. So a buddy of mine is he's doing a kids quiz show on Facebook. It's called Uncle Julie TV. He's all over Facebook and he's on YouTube. And he's doing a kids quiz show every night at 6:00 on Facebook during this special time, he calls it. And it's been a really nice way to gather with friends and people needing a break from doing their homeschooling with their kids. And it's been pretty terrific opportunity for him to just kind of, he's by himself is in his apartment. So he's producing a video show on his own, like by himself, just like this, with Facebook and with YouTube. And it's pretty cool. So I think we're about good here in terms of what these are going to look like. I'm going to pop them over here to drain. Woo! Hot. They look amazing. And I'm going to come back to this later, and I'll finish it off. I could probably make, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 more, and that'll give me a nice bunch. So hold on a second. I'm going to get you out of this contraption. You could see me again. Try not to hang up the phone. And here we go. And I'm back. So what'd you think of that? That was pretty cool, huh?
Oh, that's amazing, Andrew. Amazing. Amazing. I got a couple questions if I can, man.
Yeah, go ahead.
So as far as the length of time you want those things in the oil, does that have to do, is that just a feel that you get, or is it a color you're looking for, a certain level of sort of crunch? What are some of the factors there?
Yeah, I think that if you are going to go by color, that's probably the best way to do it, because ultimately, oven temp, it's really hard to regulate oil temp on a home stove, especially if you're not using like a candy thermometer or a deep fryer. But if you think about deep frying, if you deep fried those, they'd be done in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So the fact that I cooked each of those for maybe 2 minutes, I think those worked out really well. So in terms of doing it that way, I would say go by color and feel. And, once you start to see like it's the right consistency of color and crunch, then they're ready, and then the fun part of those is if you do put that little nugget of mozzarella cheese in the middle, when you break it open, you get that big cheese stretch. And that's delicious.
Oh, so
So I'll show you. I got I'm not going to show you. I got a big container. I'm not going to go back over there. I got a big container of tomato sauce. So I always make a big pot of tomato sauce like my grandmother, and I keep it in the fridge at all times. So sometimes I'll eat it with pasta, but then I'll poach an egg in it, or I'll use it on something like this. Like you can make a Parmesan. I made chicken Parmesans the other day. So you have a tomato sauce in your fridge, even if you use jar sauce. But you put sauce on something like that, it's going to be amazing too. So like it's a whole meal. It's the greatest.
Oh man,
So,
I'm very hungry. I just want to welcome those who are joining us partway through the broadcast. You're watching Creative Live TV, which is creativelive.com/TV. Wherever you are, we might be seeing this on Facebook or on YouTube. But I'm Chase Jarvis, and I'm happy to be here with my dear friend and renowned food photographer for the New York Times, Disney, and others, Mr. Andrew Scrivani, who's walking us through his grandma's recipe for arancini, which are rice balls. And you got those from your grandma, and obviously culturally super relevant, a staple in Italian cuisine. And if you're curious, you've got classes available here at Creative Live, mobile food photography coming up, social media for food photographers, and a couple of other classes. Just search Andrew and your name will pop up there and you can click on those. But if we go back to where you are right now in New Jersey, and the hashtag WFH stands for Work From Home Cafe, which is a hashtag that you've been operating under since the COVID-19 really started dominating the landscape. We're in your kitchen in New Jersey, and I don't know, maybe you can bring the camera back to what you just prepared for us. And I know I was begging you early on, right before we went live, if you wouldn't mind taking a few pictures for us so the people at home can see that side of your art as well. It would be amazing. But I just wanted to hand it back to you and say thank you so much for this. Has just been extraordinary.
Oh, that's great. I mean, it's the Work From Home Cafe has been sort of a way for me to keep sane as well. It's been something that has been great for me to sort of be able to feel like I'm giving back to an audience, especially on Instagram, that has supported me so greatly, and a Creative Live audience has supported me so greatly over the years. So I know that it's a tough time, and that some familiar faces who are giving you some helpful information could be something that helps you get through the day. So I'm happy and proud to be here doing this with you. In this recipe, I've already photographed the components, some of them. I'm going to finish photographing the components with you right now, but I'm going to post them on my story on Instagram so you can get the full recipe. I know that you guys have my recipe card because I sent it over to you, so you can share that with the audience. So if you want to make these or any of the other recipes, you can find any of them that in the highlight section of my Instagram feed. So let's check that out.
Amazing. And what's a great place? Give us your Instagram handle while we're here talking about this stuff.
Yeah, sure. My Instagram handle is @Andrew Scrivani, one word. So I basically tell people, if you could spell my name, you can find me, because it's pretty much everything that I do on social is just my name. So my website, my Instagram, my Facebook, any of that stuff, YouTube, I'm all just my name.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you go back into create mode here. I know we were pleading with you to do some photography for us. So take us over by the window there. You got some nice natural light pouring in, and let's see that aspect of it.
Cool. Yeah, I'm going to take you over and plug this in and see if I can get some kind of a decent look on this camera that I'm with now. So let me flip for you. Okay, so I'm going to stand you up right here, and this should give me, if I give you a little bit more width, it should be pretty good. Okay, I'm going to go over and get the, hold on. Oh, there you are. Hi.
Hey.
I'm gonna go over and get the arancini, and I'm gonna bring it back to the spot, and I'll be back in 1 second. But
great.
I can hear you.
All right, I'll just remind our viewers at home. I love it. This is one of my favorite things, and one of the reasons that we actually did Creative Live TV is because you get to see so much of our highly produced stuff, and what we're getting to see now is behind the scenes where phones are falling over, and heaven forbid Andrew cooked one arancini 11 seconds too long, and it got a little brown. But this is the world we're living in, right? And I think it's a world that we can all identify with a little bit more. And now I'm gonna hand it back to you as you're already just gone into food styling mode here.
I'm in full.
Oh, look at the close up on those things. That is just so beautiful. Thank you so much. This is great.
I can't even see it.
Oh, looks so good. I got that one right in the foreground there on the right-hand side.
So I know if I'm down here, you could probably see my face, right? How's that?
Can't quite see your face. We cut you off at the top of the cannon right there. There you go. Now I got you.
All right, cool. So I have some nice window light here. We're north facing, northeast facing. So I have some nice window light throughout the day. And even though it's the end of the day, I have plenty of light to shoot by right now. So I got my trusty Canon 5D Mark IV and my famous little 50 macro lens, that compact macro that Canon doesn't even make anymore, but I've been a big fan of for many years. So I got those two items right here, and I'm going to shoot some. And when I'm done with these, I'm going to process them. I'm going to post them on that Instagram feed, but I'm also going to send a couple over to you guys. So
amazing.
Hang in there for a second.
Amazing, yeah. Well, and keep talking to us while you're like, what are you thinking about, and what's your objective? Are you shooting straight down, or if you can tilt the camera back a little bit, that'd be ideal. If not, don't sweat it.
I don't think I can, because I think you're going to fall over.
Okay, we don't want that to happen.
Hold on. Let me try something else. Hold on. So how does that feel?
Even better.
Okay, good. That's easy. All right. So I'm going to basically try to get like a nice corner shot here of this Arancini from the top. And that's looking already really nice. I know what would make this look really great is if I was to grab some of that tomato sauce out of the fridge and put a little cup of it here. But I don't have props here, so I don't have a cup. Hey. I could probably imprise though.
We'll be patient if you do want to improvise. I mean, and also what you can show us the back of the camera a little bit just through your phone there. That's enough for us to see. Oh yeah, there you go. Look at that light. That's just extraordinary. Give us a little bit about the settings. Tell us what you're shooting on right now.
So this is a teak dining table that I bought many years ago, and it lived in my studio. It lived in my studio for many, many years. And then I needed to get something smaller because I needed more room. So I moved this into my storage unit, and the storage unit wasn't climate controlled. So I left it in there for about 3 years. And when I took it out, it had this beautiful patina to it that basically teak gets sort of grayish brown when it gets older. And this has these beautiful sort of gray tones in it. And between the marble countertop that I have that I'll walk you over to in a sec, and this countertop and this table, I have beautiful surfaces. Plus I have a little terrazzo table outside on the balcony. So I have 3 really nice surfaces to shoot on here, and I can make do and make some really nice pictures, especially with my phone, while I'm doing the work from home cafe. So I've been really happy with that.
Yeah, this is ideal.
Yeah, no question. So I can do that backlit shot that I really like to do here, where I can pick up a little piece of the window and get that blown out look.
Oops, it just went off. You hit us one more time on that. There you go.
There we go. It's a little overexposed, but I'm gonna adjust for that.
It looks bright and full of light. I love it.
Yeah. So I mean, I can pick that up here, and that's a little better.
Oh, the richness.
It's really nice. So I'm gonna run over and grab that sauce.
Do so. I'm gonna plug a couple of your other
cool.
Escapades on CreativeLive. Super excited to have Andrew Scrivani on our platform, a legend in the field of food photography. Mobile food photography is a class that we've got coming up. And again, you can't go to a restaurant in a non-COVID world not seeing someone at the table next to you taking a picture of their food, especially if you... I don't know. I don't know where you go to dinner, but man, I love 2 ends of the spectrum. I love, greasy, simple, street food, and then I love it when people really go all out and try and do something interesting. And to me, those 2 ends of the spectrum make for great photographs. And what I've loved about your approach, Andrew, and these classes that you've got on CreativeLive, mobile food photography and social media for food photographers, is just the accessibility. Just watching the photograph you created, setting these arancini on a white plate on your teak table that's right in, in your own house, right next to a window, and blang, you've got this amazing shot. So please just I'm going to hand the mic back to you. Keep walking us through what you've just done. You've got looks like the sauce from your fridge there, and keep shooting.
There it is. There's the sauce. And then I have a little extra cheese. So if I kind of start to do my food styling thing, I don't try to make it too precious. But this is a nice opportunity to make something really pretty. And hey, listen, we're already here, right? So why not?
That's right.
So, and of course, my camera is always filthy and full of cheese and everything else that I'm always shooting with. But let's make a little shot here. And got to give that a little more light. Messing around with the settings. And I think that we're getting on the right track.
It looks like cover of a magazine right there. I mean, and you just did that in 2 shots and 11 seconds flat, man.
Oh, I love it. I mean, look at this. I mean, this is what excites me about food photography is that, something that you love to eat and you're going to want to dig right into. So, I mean, there's a little bit of trickery going on here too, because that sauce is ice cold. But it still looks amazing. And you know what? I'll still dip that arancini in it. I don't care. No question. I don't care one way or the other. So
you and me both. So I just a couple you've got the Canon 5D Mark IV there, but I've seen you do that with if the best camera is the one that's with you, the camera in your pocket, right? Just off a mobile phone. Of course, we're using that right now for our live stream, so it's a little bit hard for you to demonstrate that. But just talk to us about using the equipment that you have.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that it's been something that all photographers who have sort of been in a position to instruct other people talk about is that the equipment doesn't make the photographer. The equipment is just a tool for the eye of the photographer. And if you have the right eye and you put that vision together in front of in real life, you can make the picture with the camera. And I've really started to embrace the mobile workflow because the camera is so sophisticated now that it actually gives me a result that I'm really happy about. It's really flexible, and I like the processing tools inside the camera. I like to work in Lightroom. And I think it gives you this opportunity to do things spontaneously, where this is an amazing tool and has been my lifeblood, but it's not a spontaneous instrument. It's not an instrument that I could use at a moment's notice when I see something with my eyes. And I know that some of the work that I admire of yours, Chase, is that spontaneity that you're able to bring to it with a mobile phone. And I think that all of us, are striving to create art more regularly and more accessibly. And I think that showing people that photographers who have made a living with a camera are still, enthralled with using mobile photography is something that we all need to embrace because it's here to stay. Point and shoot camera is not a thing anymore for the most part. These are the next generation of what we used to carry around, our little Minoltas and our little pocket cameras. So the tool is so powerful. We should enjoy it, embrace it, and make great pictures with it.
Well, as long as you're not too uncomfortable there squatting next to your arancini, we just do a quick recap for us because, you'd prepared some rice at the beginning before the show started, and then just walk us through in a 90-second fashion what you just did for us here on the show.
So first I took a cup of rice and I cooked that in 2 cups of water, 2 cups of milk, and a pinch of salt. And I cooked that down until the rice is almost dry. Then I added 2 eggs, 4 tablespoons of Pecorino Romano cheese, and what's the other ingredient I'm missing? Butter. 4 tablespoons of butter. How could I miss the butter? 4 tablespoons of butter, and you mix that all together till the cheese and the egg and the butter is all incorporated into the rice mixture. Then you just leave that on the counter and come to room temp, or at least cool enough to handle. But I like to let it come completely to room temp because then it's really sticky and will hold form really nicely. And then when we're ready to fry them, I put about 1/4 of an inch of oil in a shallow pan, and I let that get to about 350 degrees. I roll these in an egg wash, which is just a scrambled egg and water, and I roll it out into some seasoned breadcrumb. Mine happen to be gluten-free, and then put them right in that hot oil. And about 90 seconds later to 2 minutes, you keep rolling those around until it's all golden brown on every side. And this is what you end up with. And they freeze really well. You can put them in the freezer. You can eat them room temp. I tend to like that. My grandmother would do that. When I was a kid, she would make food like this and leave it out on the counter all day. And you just kind of walking by in the afternoon and there's an arancini sitting there and you grab it and throw it in your face and you're happy. So it doesn't have, this is not the kind of food that has to be piping hot to be enjoyable. And then like what I did here is I put a little tomato sauce here as a sort of a dip. This gives it that little mozzarella stick feel, like like at the chain restaurants, but way better.
Way better.
Way better. There's no comparison. But like I said, it's also really versatile. You can add peas. You can add a little piece of chopped meat. You could add a piece of mozzarella cheese in the middle. You can have like a little surprise in the middle there with some, peas or cheese or any other little sort of nugget of deliciousness. You can kind of sneak it inside that when you're making those balls. Now, I make them oblong because that's how my grandmother taught me. But you can also make them round. A lot of people make them round, but I like to stick with the way my grandma taught me.
Oh, I'm giving a shout out to your grandma right now, and so is a couple thousand people around the world. So thank you so much for bringing us to your home there in New Jersey, where you're hunkered down safe with your family. And as a reminder, you're doing this on the regular, right? At the Work From Home Cafe, hashtag WFH Cafe, and give us just a little recap on what you're doing there.
Yeah, so on my Instagram story, I've been running a feature called the Work From Home Cafe, and I come on and I talk to camera and I give some instructional advice on a recipe and things that I'm cooking for my work from home workforce, and I call them my work from home warriors, and that's something that I'm hoping that people gravitate to who are not necessarily home cooks normally. And they have the opportunity to spend some time in the kitchen now because we have no choice. And they have a friendly face who they know who could talk them through some of these kind of delicious but easy to put together recipes. So if you're interested in that, come on over to my Instagram. It's also on my Facebook. But follow me through Instagram because Facebook, it's just a jump over. But I'm also posting them on my YouTube page, so that all of them will be there in entirety. But if you do want to interact or you ever want to ask questions, Instagram's the place to do that, and that's at my name, at Andrew Scrivani. Same thing on YouTube if you're looking for me, and the Work From Home Cafe will be there.
Amazing. And we are so grateful to have you in our community. And not only, from today's experience, but again, for those of you who have enjoyed this show and want to see more from Andrew, he's given you a couple of locations. We also have classes where he goes in depth on what he just covered in an hour. We've got that mobile food photography, social media for photographers. And there's another class you've got on our channel as well. I am spacing on it right now. But if you go to CreativeLive.com and type in Andrew, it's going to come up right away. Look at him just crushing the arancini back there. I'm so jealous right now. I just finished your granola bar while you were in the middle of doing all that. I'm just 2,600 miles further away from you than I want to be right now. I wish I was 6 feet from you and you could toss me one of those from across the room.
Absolutely, and they'll hold together well enough. If you toss it and you catch it with like a light, it's fine. You catch it, it's fine. It's not red hot anymore, so you can definitely do that. So next time I see you, Chase, I'll make a batch for you.
Oh, I cannot wait. I'm so grateful. We in the Creative Live community and the global creative community are so thankful for your time today. And I was just talking off camera to the booth we're streaming this live, obviously all over the place, and we need to do this regularly. Maybe we can make it weekly. I know you're doing it daily at the Work From Home Cafe, but it's so enjoyable, and you're a master of so many disciplines, both cooking and photography. So it's a treat to be in your on your chest, if you will, with your chesty cam there on your phone. So thank you so much. Any other words of wisdom that you want to share with our audience before we let you get back to your day?
Yeah, absolutely. What I've tried to preach in photography and what I'm trying to talk about with cooking now is you got to keep it simple, and you have to not worry about it too much. Just go out and create. That's been the ethos of Creative Live. It's definitely the things that all of the instructors are trying to impart to everyone is that just create, just go out and try it. And if you mess it up, that's not a big deal. Try it again. There's no harm in trying. So just don't be anxious about cooking. Try not to set your kitchen on fire. But other than that, it's going to be great. Don't worry about it. You're going to have a good time.
We're gonna set the bar so low we could trip over it. All you have to do is create some food, and it's true. You're only going to figure out how to do it by doing it.